Hey guys, hopefully everyone is doing well. Today's target is to solve illustration number 2 and we are related with cash book. For last few days we have taken introduction of this chapter and we have solved one illustration as well. What usually we do in any question, we are provided by some transactions which are written in raw language. It is called raw data. We have been provided these transactions which an organization usually provides to the accountant, and what accountants after receiving these transactions does, he receives this data from organization and convert it into a usable information. Right now is just a language, or you can say it's a layman language, just explanation of what has been done on March 1 or March 3 or any day of this month. This is simple explanation. We cannot have any conclusion by looking at these transactions. Accountant is the person who will convert it into a usable information where our required elements would be appeared in the solution. How an accountant does convert this raw data into usable information? For this, there are few steps. Step number 1 is, from these transactions which are written in raw language, these transactions would be converted into journal entries. JOURNAL, journal entries. This is first way to convert raw data into an informative way, or raw data can be converted into usable information. Then those journal entries would be posted and converted into ledger, where we will be easily understand how much cash is present or how much amount is present in the bank account. So here I would willing to show you our procedure of doing this question. As you can see, there are two parts, half of which is divided in these two parts. You can see that half of part is on left side and half of the solution is given in the right side. On left side, what you will do, you will generalize all the transaction present into the question, and this is pattern of journal. When you will enter any transaction from the question into journal, you will say you have journalized that transaction. So journal entries would be made over here. Since chapter of journal has already been completed, you are well familiar with this date column, particulars, rupees and rupees columns. And now as you have completed your ledgers as well, the difference is what, when you will complete this journal entries, these journal entries over here, at the time of conversion these journal entries into ledgers, normally in ledger chapter you were having only one ledger at one time at once. Like if you are making your cash ledger, there will be only cash ledger, or you are making bank ledger, there was only a bank ledger which was required to be completed. But here what is happening, there are three ledgers we are making at the same time. The name of these ledgers are discount, cash, add bank. I'm repeating myself. In ledgers chapter, there was only one ledger at one time you were supposed to complete. But here what is happening, you are completing three different ledgers in the same time. You have two parts of this cash book. First part is debit side and second part is your credit side. In debit side you do have all three elements, that means discount, cash, add bank, and you have three elements on credit side as well, discount, cash, add bank. Ledgers do have two sides, debit and credit, but the difference of cash book and ledger is that if you are making a ledger, that ledger would be associated with only one element, but when you are making cash book, there might be three elements associated with the cash book. If you are related with three elements, that cash book would be called triple column cash book. If you are making only two combined ledgers, for example you are making cash and bank ledgers combined, and in that ledger you haven't included discount, that kind of cash book would be called double column cash book. And there is one very simple phase of cash book where there will be only one element involved, and if you are making only cash to be included in cash book, that would be single column cash book. Or it may be possible only bank element is involved in cash book, even then it would be considered as single column cash book. So we have single column, double column and triple column cash book. If you will include all these three elements which are fixed in cash book, you will have only discount, cash and bank. Nothing else can be included. If you have included all three elements in the cash book, it is triple column. When you are including cash and bank, only two elements, it is called double column cash book. And when you are adding discount beside cash and bank, it means three elements are involved, and ultimately it would be called triple column cash book. Hopefully you people have understood what would be the criteria. Transactions are present in our question. We will pick these transactions and will convert into journal entries over here. Here are your journal entries, and when journal entries will be completed, we will take help from these journal entries and will convert them into cash book. Those transactions will be posted into different sides of cash book, and ultimately you will have a completed cash book. Now here is the question, how these transactions can be posted into the ledger. Rule is very simple. You will see only three elements: cash, discount and bank. When you see cash is present in the journal entry at debit side, so what you will do, you will choose same debit side in the cash book and will choose cash column of the debit side, and you will write the amount. In short, what will you do? If cash is debit, do it or write it in debit side of the cash book. Debit, do debit. But just remind you, just keep it in your mind the rule. If cash is debit, post it on debit side of the cash book. If cash is credit, post it on the credit side of the cash book. Other side is credit. Hopefully you people have now have an idea what we are going to do. So we are going to start our illustration. This is illustration number 2, and all entries are associated with same month, starting from the beginning March 1 and ending at March 31. Different entries are present over here. We are going to convert these transactions into journal entries. What is our first journal entry? What is our first transaction? It is March 1. First step is to mention date. You will go to journal side and will write the date first. It is very important to mention date. Why? Because all your ledgers and journal entries, if you want to make them accurate, date has very potential role, and date will play a key role to have accurate cash balances and bank balances. Entry number 1 is saying you have cash in hand. Cash in hand means you have just cash. Cash is not going out, cash is not coming in. You are not paying cash to anyone, you are not receiving cash from anyone. It is just cash which is in your hand. Cash in hand means it is favorable for you. That means it's your asset. Asset should be written on debit side. That is why you will mention cash on debit side. Now, as earlier it was mentioned that you are not paying cash and you are not receiving cash. Cash is not going out, cash is not coming in. It's just the balance of a referral. You will write balance on credit side. Now let's see how much cash in hand is present, and that is 80,000. So you will put 80,000 on debit side of this entry, and same amount you are going to post on credit side. As you know that debit and credit side will always be equal. This way entry 1 is completed. We have generalized March 1 entry. March 1 transaction has been completed. Now let's see what is next. Again March 1. So we will divide it into two parts. We will write 1, and just for the reference we will write 1A for the first entry, and now we are doing 1B for the second March 1 entry. Second March 1 entry is saying we have bank balance. All right, if you have bank balance, it means some amount is present in your bank account. If amount is present in your bank account, and second fact is that amount is not going out, that nothing is coming in, amount is not being deposited, amount is not being withdrawn from the bank, just a reference is this, that amount is present in the bank. If amount is present in bank account, it is favorable for you. Bank account is your asset. Asset is to be written on debit side, so you will write name of your bank account on debit side. As earlier mentioned that it's just the amount present into the bank and amount is not going out, amount is not coming in, we are not paying some cash into the bank, we are not withdrawing amount from the bank, it is just the amount present into the bank, so you will write the name of balance on credit side just for the reference. Let's see how much amount is present in our bank account, and that is 1,20,000. So you will post 1,20,000 on debit side, and same amount you will be posting on credit side. Here your second journal entry has been completed, 1B. Now let's see what is next for us, and it is March 3. We will post date first and we'll write 3 in date column. What third entry is saying, receive a check from Usman. Now please try to understand, you have not deposited that check into the bank, you have just received the check. So what will happen if you are receiving check is coming in, check is your near asset, asset is increasing, increase in asset should be written on debit side, so you were supposed to write check over here on debit side as an asset, and asset is increasing, check was supposed to be written on debit side. But in accounting we do not write check. In place of check, temporarily we will consider it as cash, though it's not cash, we have received the check, but since check has not been deposited into the bank, so temporarily we will consider this check as cash. This check what we have written over here is just a reference, you may write or you may not write, it has been written just for the reference, so that we should know the cash we have received is not pure cash, it's just the check. From whom we have received this check, name is mentioned, that is Usman. Usman was your account receivable, as you were supposed to receive amount from Usman. Usman was account receivable from whom amount was receivable in the past. Now you have received that amount, it means he is no more your account receivable. Account receivable are assets. In this way, if he is no more your account receivable, means no more your asset. Asset has been decreased, decrease in asset should be credited, so you will mention name of Usman on credit side. As he was, what word I am using, was, he was your account receivable. Account receivable are usually asset and they should be written on debit side, but since we have received amount from him, he is no more asset, asset has been decreased, decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side, so you have written name of Usman on credit side. Let's see how much amount for third entry. It is 24,000, so you will write 24,000 on debit side, and same amount you are needed to write on credit side. In this way entry number 3 is completed. Now let's see what is next for us, and it is March 4. After March 3, let's write the date first, March 4. So we have mentioned the date. What entry number 4 is saying, deposited Umar's check with bank. What does that mean? In previous entry you have received a check from Usman, and same Usman's check is deposited in next day. What practically we are doing, we have received a check from Usman. This was when you have received the check, and now same check is going out. You are paying this check into the bank, it means this cash or the check is going out. When check is going out, check is your near asset, asset is decreasing, decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side, so you were supposed to mention check on credit side. As earlier mentioned, we do not write check, we have considered it as a cash, but temporarily. So in a sense, cash is going out while actually it's a check. For referral, you have written check beside it, so that we should not forget that it's not pure cash, it's the check. Where this check has gone? In the bank. Our bank account had received this check. Eventually amount present in bank would be increased. Increase in bank account means increase in your asset, as bank account is your asset. Increase in asset should be mentioned on debit side, so you will mention name of your bank account on debit side. Now amount is not mentioned in question in March 4th entry. You can see that it's March 4th. Next is its narration, and you can see there is no amount over here. So what you will do, It's simple, a matter of common sense. The check you had received earlier was of 24,000 and you are depositing the same check into the bank. It means amount would be the same and you will post 24,000 on debit side of this transaction and same amount you will be posting on credit side. In this way, entry number 4 is completed. Let's see what is next for us, and that is entry number 8. We will put date first. We'll come to the date column and write date number 8. And what 8th entry is saying? Withdraw from bank for business use. It's very important. Focus on business use. You have drawn amount, and for what purpose? The purpose is to use that amount in business. So you have drawn amount, withdrawn amount from the bank. When you will draw amount from your bank, it means amount present in bank account would be decreased. Bank account is your asset. Ultimately, asset is decreasing. Decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side. So you will mention bank on credit side. Your bank account would be credited, and since you have drawn amount from your bank, so what would be coming into the business? You will receive cash in the business. Cash in hand would increase. It means asset is increasing. Asset is increasing should be mentioned on debit side. So you will write cash on debit side. It was 8th entry. Let's see how much amount of 8th entry is. Again, it's 20,000. So you will write 20,000 on debit side. It's 20,000 and same amount you are needed to write on credit side. In this way, entry number 8 is completed. Now let's see what is next for us. It is entry number 10. So we will put date on date column as a first step, and now let's see what is entry number 10 is saying. Goods sold for cash. You are selling goods and receiving cash. When you are selling goods, it means goods are going out. Goods are your near asset. By selling, your goods are decreasing. Decrease in goods mean decrease in asset, which should be mentioned on credit side. So you were supposed to write goods over here. But in journal, we were doing the chapter journal, that place at that time we have an understanding, we do not write goods. In place of goods, we do write working. What working we are doing over here? That is sales. So in place of sale, in place of goods, you will write sales. Goods here is just a reference. You are not needed to write over here goods. It was just to give you a reference what is going out. So goods were going out, or there was decrease in goods. That is why we have selected credit side. It was just a reference. You may erase it. You have sold goods, and what you will receive after selling your goods, you will receive cash, with which your cash in hand would be increased. Increase in cash in hand means increase in asset. Increase in asset should be mentioned on debit side. So you will write name of cash on debit side. How much amount of 10th entry? This is 30,000. So you will mention 30,000 on debit side, and we'll repeat the same amount on credit side. Here your entry number 10 is completed. Now let's see what is next for us. After 10, we have entry number 15. So first we will mention the date 15 in date column, and entry number 15 is saying goods bought for cash. In earlier and we were doing goods sold for cash, and now we have goods bought for cash. When you are buying your goods, it means goods are coming in. Goods are your near asset. When you are buying, it means asset is increasing. Increase in asset should be mentioned on debit side. So you were supposed to write goods over here on debit side. But as we have a bit understanding that we do not write goods in accounting, we write working in place of goods. In this transaction, what working we are doing? We are buying. So you will mention the word purchase in place of good. Good was just a reference. Now it's unnecessary to write over here. You can erase it. It was just a reference. What is coming in? Goods. With the help of this, we have decided the place. It was debit. In place of goods, we have written purchase. You can erase goods after having the reference from goods. When you are buying goods and you have bought these goods for cash, What will be going out? Cash. It means cash in hand is decreasing. Decrease in cash in hand means decrease in asset, which should be credited. So you will mention name of cash on credit side. Now let's see how much amount is entry number 15. It is 80,000. So you will write 80,000 on debit side of purchase, and same you are needed to write on credit side. In this way, entry number 15 is completed. Now let's see what is next entry. After 15, we have entry number 18. So we will write date first, come to the solution and write 18 in the date column. And what 18 entry is saying? Goods sold for cash. Again, the same entry has been arrived. Goods sold for cash. When you are selling your goods, when you are selling your goods, it means goods are going out. Goods are your near asset. By selling means your goods are decreasing and asset is decreasing. Decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side. So you were supposed to write goods on credit side. But as per our understanding, we do not write goods in accounting. In place of goods, we write working. What working we are doing? As we are selling, so you will mention sales over here. Goods, what we have written over here was just a reference to know what is going out. So after taking reference of goods, you may erase it. So goods were sold, you have written sale on credit side. After selling, what would be coming in? When you will sell your commodity, you will receive cash. It means cash in hand is increasing, which means asset is increasing. Increase in asset should be mentioned on debit side. So you are needed to mention cash on debit side as your cash is increased, asset is increased. 18th entry's amount is 60,000. So you will write 60,000 over here on debit side. And same amount you are supposed to write on credit side, 60,000. In this way, entry number 18 is completed. Now let's see what is next for us. After 18, it's entry number 20. And we will write the date first. Date is 20. We have mentioned in date column. What entry number 20 is saying is paid Rahim by check. You have paid to Rahim and payment mode is check. The first thing first is when you will issue your check. Now in this transaction you have issued to Rahim, but whosoever is receiving your check, if you will issue your check to someone, that someone will go to your bank, will present that check and will withdraw amount from your bank account, with which amount present in your bank would be decreased. Decrease in bank account means decrease in asset. Decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side. So you will mention bank name on credit side. Now what is happening? You have paid Rahim by check. Why you have paid to Rahim? Because Rahim was the person to whom amount was payable. He was your account payable. As you have paid your amount, he is no more your account payable after payment. Account payables are liabilities, and as you have paid, your liability has been decreased. Decrease in liability should be mentioned on debit side. So you will mention name of Rahim on debit side. Doesn't matter he was account payable, but you will write on debit side. Why I am saying so? Because account payables are liabilities and liabilities should be mentioned on credit side. Why we are writing liability on debit side? Because after payment he is no more your account payable, he is no more your liability. Liability has been decreased. Decrease in liability should be mentioned on debit side. That is why you have written your account payable on debit side. Let's see what is amount of account payable, and that is 26,000. So you will write 26,000 on debit side, and same amount would be written on credit side as well, as debit and credit side are always equal. 20th entry completed. Now let's see what is next entry for us. After 20 we have 30. We will mention date first. It's 30. We have written on date column. 30th entry is saying deposited cash into the bank. Though cash is not mentioned, but obviously in bank account you will deposit cash only. When you will deposit cash, it means cash is going out from you. Your cash in hand is decreasing. Cash in hand is your asset. Asset is decreasing. Decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side. So you will mention cash on credit side being asset, and asset is decreasing. Where this cash has gone, as you have deposited this cash into your bank, so amount present in bank account would be increased. Bank account is your asset, means asset is increased. Increase in asset should be mentioned on debit side, so you will mention name of bank on debit side. Now let's see what is amount of this transaction. It is 16,000, so you will mention 16,000 over here, and you are needed to put same amount on your credit side. This way entry number 30 is completed. Now next entry, let's see what is saying. Next entry is 31, and there are two 31 entries, so we will put date as 31 in the date column, but with the reference like A, since there are two entries of 31 day. 31A is saying paid salary in cash. As you are paying, it means you cash is going out, cash in hand is decreasing. Decrease in cash in hand means decrease in asset. Decrease in asset should be mentioned on credit side, so you will mention cash on credit side. For what purpose you are paying this cash? He's saying you have paid your salary. As it's a payment, then salary is an expense. Expenses should be mentioned on debit side. Debit side is fixed for expense, so you will mention salary as an expense on debit side. Let's see how much salary you have paid. This is 10,000, so you will mention 10,000 on debit side of this journal entry, and same amount you are needed to put on credit side as well. This way entry number 31A is completed, and we know that next entry is 31 as well, but we will mention B for the second 31st entry. And let's see what 31st entry is saying. We have paid rent by check. First word is very important. You have paid rent by check. Since you are paying through check, the person who is receiving this check will go to your bank account, will present that check to the bank, and amount present in your bank account would be decreased. Decrease in bank account mean decrease in asset. Decrease in asset should be credited, so you will mention your bank account on credit side as it was an asset, and asset has been decreased. Why you are giving this check? Purpose is given in the question. You are paying rent. As it's a payment, payment is an expense, and expenses should be mentioned on debit side, so you will mention name of rent on debit side. Let's see how much rent you have paid. It is 6,000, so you will mention debit side 6,000, and you will be writing same 6,000 on credit side as well, as we know that debit and credit side are always equal. So after 31B there is no entry. It means all journal entries have been completed. For illustration number 2, what we have done, we have started from 1A, and step by step we had completed all the journal entries present in our question. From first A to 31st B, journal entries have been completed. In other words, technically we have said all transactions present in the question are being journalized. Please remember this name. We have journalized transaction present in the question. Now next step is to put these transactions into journal so that we can have completed cash book. But for that purpose, I am just requesting you to take a break, just short break. Take a short break, and after a moment we will come again and will complete cash book by transferring all journal entries present in the cash book, and will post in cash book to complete our target. All right, for the time being, please permit me, and we will be meeting soon for our second part of this illustration. Up till then, please take care. Thank you very much.